For anyone who's still going to argue that the Merrell twins are Asian, they are not Asian. This video will show and prove they're not Asian by 1. They claim they always thought Filipinos were Asian, but there are video evidence proving they never thought Filipinos were Asian. Even in the same exact video they contradicted themselves, showing they're liars and contradictors. 2. Even their own family doesn't believe they're Filipino. 3. They said they weren't actually Filipino anymore, just to claim and pretend they're Korean, only because of K-pop.
In some of those videos, there were people saying that we were, claiming we're Asian, when I thought Filipino is Asian, and some people don't consider it. I don't know what to say to that.
Wait a minute, what's this she says later in the video?
Here in America, growing up, identifying someone as Asian actually is, I don't know how to say it. We see Asian as just a certain type of group. As I've gotten older, I realize there's way more than just Asians that we thought were Asians, because there's people from Pakistan who consider themselves Asian, like so many other countries. Waki Shaki said, I'm Asian but brown kind. See, there's so many different types of Asian, and like growing up we didn't know that. We didn't associate an Asian being that. Because that's just how it was just taught where we were. Yeah, where we taught, that's how it was like. Yeah, and that's just a very unfortunate thing that we grew up and we realized that, and we recognize that now, and so we're sorry that we were misinformed. Yeah. So there's also that too, that the word Asian actually represents a ton of other people. So, and there's like a lot of people including us, we grew up not realizing that. And people even around us grew up not knowing that. So, in case you didn't know, it's a thing.
Brown Asians include Filipinos, South and Southeast Asians, David says.
We didn't associate an Asian being that. We didn't associate an Asian being that. We didn't associate an Asian being that. When I thought Filipino is Asian, we didn't associate an Asian being that.
Let's not forget this gem of a video.
There were people saying that we were, claiming we're Asian, when I thought Filipino is Asian.
Are you part Asian? I think so.
Nuh-uh.
I thought it was Pacific Islander.
As I've gotten older, I realize there's way more than just Asians that we thought were Asians, because the word Asian actually represents a ton of other people. So, and there's like a lot of people including us, we grew up not realizing that. And people even around us grew up not knowing that. So, I learned in college that Asian Americans get treated terribly. Waki Shaki said, I'm Asian but brown kind. See, there's so many different types of Asian, and like growing up we didn't know that. We didn't associate an Asian being that. Because that's just how it was just taught where we were. Yeah, where we taught, that's how it was like. Yeah.
They didn't think brown people were Asian? But who is considered brown Asian? So they claimed to be Filipino, but they didn't consider brown people Asian. But Filipinos are brown Asian. How do you claim to be Asian, but only think East Asia is Asian? Mostly when you claim to be the brown kind. And for them to even say this.
Here in America, growing up, identifying someone as Asian actually is, I don't know how to say it. We see Asian as just a certain type of group. As I've gotten older, I realize there's way more than just Asians that we thought were Asians, because there's people from Pakistan who consider themselves Asian, like so many other countries.
How are you going to claim you are Asian, but say that growing up you didn't know there were different types of Asians, except the ones they thought were Asian, which we know are East Asians, because as you saw, they didn't consider brown people Asian, which literally is the bulk of all Asians. So how did they think they could parade and pretend to be Asian, when they had that type of stereotypical mindset about Asians, and didn't even know what is Asian. And the fact that y'all believe them when the evidence is right there, shake my effing head, and eye roll at the same time. And if y'all didn't already notice, they said contradicting things in the same video. First at the beginning she says, I always thought Filipinos were Asian.
In some of those videos, there were people saying that we were, claiming we're Asian, when I thought Filipino is Asian.
There she says she thought Filipinos were Asian, but then this.
Waki Shaki said, I'm Asian but brown kind. See, there's so many different types of Asian, and growing up, we didn't know that. We didn't associate an Asian being that. Because that's just how it was just taught where we were. Yeah, where we taught, that's how it was like.
Remember, Filipinos are brown Asians. Brown Asians include Filipinos, South, and Southeast Asians, David says. As you can see, in the same exact video, they contradicted themselves. She says, I always thought Filipinos were Asian, but the next part, remember exact same video says, we didn't consider Asians being that, which is brown, and Filipinos are brown Asians. Also don't forget this.
Are you part Asian? I think so.
Nuh-uh.
Because I thought it was Pacific Islander.
And again you saw they didn't always think Filipinos were Asian, they thought they were Pacific Islanders, which is not the same thing. So for them to literally contradict themselves within the same video, shows what liars they are. And in my old video, I said you know something is a lie when it's inconsistent. You all saw for yourself the inconsistency in their story. First they say Filipinos are Pacific Islander, then they say, I always thought Filipinos were Asian, then they say they were taught Asians were that, as in brown, and didn't associate brown people as Asian. All different answers, and the fact that it was in the same exact video too? They thought they could lie in the same video without being caught. Too bad they were. Also, they thought they could manipulate everyone to think that they always considered themselves Asian. But here, clear as day, we saw that they didn't and never did think Filipinos were Asian, not until they got into K-pop. Not only are they racist wannabe Asians, but they're also liars and manipulators. Are you guys understanding this? And they tried to pretend to Asian? Like I said, they are no different than people like Vicky, pretending to be a race they are not. And, they were taught what Asians looked like. What Asian is taught what their own race looks like. That's like saying I'm Mexican and I was taught Mexicans looked like this.
Waki Shaki said, I'm Asian but brown kind. See, there's so many different types of Asian, and growing up, we didn't know that. We didn't associate an Asian being that. Because that's just how it was just taught where we were. Yeah, where we taught, that's how it was like. Because that's just how it was just taught where we were. Yeah, where we taught, that's how it was like.
Also, how can you be Asian but not know that Asians were discriminated against? How are you going to say that you had to learn about it in school? That's like claiming to be black and saying, I didn't know the Confederate flag was a bad thing. Or, claiming to be Native American and saying, I didn't know Thanksgiving was bad. How could you not know these important aspects, but claim you are one of us? Life doesn't work to your current obsession. Like one of her tweets said, we always want what we can't have. Yes, you want to be Asian, but like you said yourself, you want what you can't have. You can never be Asian. It's life. Be effing real. Here's another reason you know they're not Asian. Their family. They keep saying how Asian they look, but why is it only them? FYI, they don't look Asian. It's just in their head. Why don't their other family members look Asian? Let's ask Sherliza Moé again.
Girl, where? Where? You are white. The fuck? It's so obvious. Come on. Who you kidding, huh?
Who you kidding, huh? Come on. It's so obvious.
Sometimes my Asian looks show up a little more. Had a nice outing with the family. I wonder which parent is the Korean one. It's just a white person pretending to be Asian.
How are you going to say you're Asian, but the rest of your family isn't? And remember what their very own cousin said?
Do you have Filipino blood? Yes, we do. Even Isaac does.
I guess.
We do.
I guess we do.
If they were actually Asian, then why is their own cousin, the one who is also supposed to Asian, doesn't think so, and looks so uncertain? Shouldn't he know? Because he's supposed to be Asian too, right? And for anyone about to argue, he's probably not from the side where they're Filipinos from. Their supposed Filipino comes from their mom's side, because their dad is full white, so he should be related to their mom's side.
Is Isaac your cousin on your mom's side or dad's side? He's your cousin on our mom's side of the family. That's why in our video, Nana Uno is also his grandma too.
He's from their mom's side, the side that the supposed Filipino comes from, but yet he doesn't even think or believe they're Filipino. Their own family doesn't even think they're Filipino, making it even more obvious that they're not Asian. Their family doesn't believe or think they're Filipino. They didn't consider brown people Filipino, Asian. They were taught what Asians looked like. All shows and proves how not Asian they are. And no real Asian would ever say some of the things they said. So no, they are not Asian. They were able to just stop being Filipino, all just so that they can claim they were Korean just because of K-pop.
Are you guys Filipino?
Yeah. Well,
Yes.
we believe so.
Yes.
My grandpa is
The other day,
Filipino.
I was talking to my grandpa, and he said that we are, like, our ancestors do come from the Philippines, but that there was this time where a bunch of people went to the Philippines that were like Korean, Japanese, Chinese, somewhere
Spanish.
No, not Spanish. Oh, Spanish people went to the Philippines too. And so, no, he didn't say. Oh, I forget. One of those. So we could either be any type of those Asians. That's what he traced back from the ancestors.
But our grandpa, if you look at him, he looks Filipino.
Anyways, it's like, so our ancestors come from the Philippines. So I guess we are Filipino. But we could be like something else. We're just a mixture of things.
We should really
We're
do
more
the DNA
Spanish
test.
than anything.
Yeah, we're more Spanish.
As you can see, it came from, we are Filipino, to we believe so, that we're Filipino, but we could actually be Korean, Japanese, or Chinese. So no longer were they Filipino, their ancestors only lived there, but they're actually any of the East Asian countries. How convenient that only after listening to K-pop did they figure that out. Shake my effing head. So for them to easily stop being Filipino just to claim to be Korean, shows how non-Filipino they are. Because they never did that with being white, or any of their other ethnicities, but they were able to do that with Filipino. Why? Because they're actually not Filipino, that's why they were able to just stop being Filipino, all just because of K-pop. Also for her to use the excuse that back in the day, Korea, Japan, and China went to the Philippines, that's why she can claim to be those Asians is bull's tea. So China and Japan both went to Korea. Can I start saying I'm Chinese and Japanese too? What a load of crap. She's so desperate that she would use dumb logic like that just so she can claim to be Korean. If that's not Korea boo, then what is? Shake my effing head. I have videos where I went into way more detail on why this video was wrong and contradicts them being Asian and Filipino. So if you're lost or confused about this video, go watch my other videos on this video, and you will understand. And I know most of you are going to say, stop assuming, you don't even know them, they didn't even reveal their DNA results, so you can't be so confident saying you know they're not Asian. Well, first of all, I can assume they're not Asian. Why? Because, 1. The words came straight out of their own mouth. Growing up we didn't know that, no brown people were Asian, we didn't associate Asian being that. What brown Asian, Filipino, would say that if they were Asian? Actually, what Asian would actually say that, if they were actually Asian? Why don't you try and answer that before you say, I can't assume they're not Asian? Because again, no Asian of any ethnicity would ever say that. 2. Again, it came out of their own effing mouth that they considered Filipinos Pacific Islanders. What more evidence do I need, when the person themselves said nah, isn't it Pacific Islander? When the person themselves says nah, they're saying they're not that race.
Are you part Asian? I think so.
Nuh-uh.
Because I thought it was Pacific Islander.
And they already got the results back from their DNA test.
Oh, idea. 23andMe DNA test, possible paid promo. LOL.
I get scared to
I take
take
that ever since I saw all those conspiracy theories about like them taking your DNA and everything. Like that scares me.
Just Abby is fine, laughing face.
Well, and then our grandparents took it. Our grandparents, my grandma and grandpa took it, and they were like a lot of. Here's the thing: they took it, but it wasn't even specific. It was like, you know,
Very general.
It's very general. Like, oh, you have things from this area. Like you have different ethnicity parts, whatever you call it, from this area and this area over here, and it didn't go into specifics.
It was like weird. Like it would kind of, but then it'd be like, and then this part, I don't know. We were all like, huh? It took forever for their test to get back.
The question is, why have they not shared the results with everyone, when they were so eager before?
Guys, we've got the DNA test thing. So I want to do that. I want to see what I really am. So then I can for sure be like,
We should really do
we're more
the DNA
Spanish
test.
than anything.
Yeah.
As y'all can see, they got the DNA results back already, but why aren't they sharing it? One can only assume the results weren't what they thought it would be, probably because it showed they weren't Filipino, which is what I said all along. Just maybe. Because why else are they not sharing the results, when you saw they were so eager to take it and tell everyone the results? And if they do decide to finally share the results of their DNA, it better not be reading from a paper or from screenshots. We better see them signing on and scrolling up and down the results, not some paper holding or screenshot action, because we know they're high-tech. And if they do those other things, like paper results or screenshot actions, then for sure you know they're lying and trying to manipulate the results in some way. Trust me. Because they're high-tech, you see it in their lives every week. If they're able to stream the way they do with their gaming and everything, they're able to show a screen of them logging onto the site and scrolling through their results. Also, don't think that if it does say they're a little Filipino or some percentage, that it suddenly gives them the right to say they're Asian, and it can justify that they weren't racist towards Asians and blah blah. Watch this example that no, you can't do that.
And Native American. Weird. But girl, at 0.7, but it says Native American. Oh! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god!
Call me the Tiger Lily, boy!
Oh my god!
Call me Tiger Lily!
Ah! You know if you're just 1% Native American, some percent, you gonna get free college. Bet y'all didn't know that. Y'all better find out if y'all Native American. Oh my god!
And here's just some of the comments about this video, because these girls were just as bad. As you can see, nobody likes it. Just because a fake DNA test says you're something, doesn't mean you can start claiming you're that race, mostly when you say SD like this. Also just wanted to show, remember in my Merrell Twins Racist Moments compilation explanation part 1, I said they weren't Latin because they're Spanish. Well, look at these two comments here. Told you all they weren't Latin. If you didn't catch it, they found out they were less than 1% Native American, less than 1%. And she goes and stereotypically says, "Call me Tiger Lily, are you effing kidding me?" But that's how all racist, ignorant people think. They're literally all the same. Because I bet you the Merrell twins would have been exactly the same, but instead, we got 1% Filipino, call us Mulan. And Mulan is Chinese, not Filipino. And you know how I know this, remember this? Guys, I can't Snapchat it because I look like Pocahontas right now, because I want wavy hair in the morning. So if she was able to say this about Native Americans just based on her hair, imagine what they'd say if they got something in their DNA results. So don't say I'm assuming, because they did this before, that's why I'm able to say that. She literally called herself Pocahontas, all just because her hair was in braids. Go watch the full video of Sarati DNA test. It's a great example of why we don't just claim people, just because they got some percentage on their DNA test. But like I said, if they do finally share the results of their DNA, they better not be reading from a paper, like printing out the results, or from screenshots, like this.
Yes. My Nigerians, please stand up. 35.7% European. Ooh. So
we better not see screenshot actions like that. They better be signing on and scrolling up and down the results, because we know they're high-tech like that. As you can see, they are capable of logging on and scrolling up and down through the results. So they better not try to manipulate the results with a paper or screenshots like what Wovicky did. This was Wovicky's supposed DNA results, screenshots, everyone knew it was fake. And that's why I said screenshots are fake, and if they do that, we know it's fake. Because like I said, you can get any screenshots of DNA results from online, so if they do screenshots, when we know they are capable of doing it the high-tech way, We know for sure they tampered and manipulated the results. So knowing all of this, and the things they said in the past about Asians, is proof of how not Asian they are.
Are you part Asian?
I think so.
Nuh-uh. Because I thought it was Pacific Islander.
Here in America, growing up, identifying someone as Asian actually is, I don't know how to say it. We see Asian as just a certain type of group. As I've gotten older, I realized there's way more than just Asians that we thought were Asians, because there's people from Pakistani who consider themselves Asian, like so many other countries. Waki Shaki said, I'm Asian but brown kind. See, there's so many different types of Asian, and like growing up, we didn't know that. Like,
we didn't associate Asian being that.
Because that's just how it was just taught where we were.
Yeah, where we taught, that's how it was like.
Yeah, and that's just a very unfortunate thing that we grew up and we realized that, and
we recognize that now, and so we're sorry that we were misinformed.
Yeah.
So
there's also that too, that the word Asian actually represents a ton of other people. So
and there's like a lot of people including us, we grew up not realizing that. And people even around us grew up not knowing that. So in case you didn't know, it's a thing.
Like, I learned it in college that Asian Americans get treated terribly.
As y'all can see, all this shows they're not Asian, and a dumb fake DNA test won't suddenly make me accept them as Asian. And for anyone who says, well, I'm Asian, and I claim them as Asians, then you're not Asian. The fact that you're accepting people who parade as your race just as a trend, and use your culture as an aesthetic, and were racist and offensive to your race, and you still accept them just because you like them, then I don't consider you Asian either. And I highly doubt any other Asian will either, remember.
Do you honestly think Asians won't notice that? Let me tell you, Asians will not only notice that, they will find you pathetic and they will avoid you as if you're the freaking plague. Seriously.
The most annoying Asian folks are the ones who condone racism by saying st like, I'm Asian, and I'm not offended, or, stop being so sensitive. You might be thinking that you are taking the high road, but all you are really doing is sucking up to racists. Seriously. If you're Asian and you condone these types of actions, then throw away your Asian card, because nobody will see you as Asian, just like we will never see the Merrell twins as Asian. They will never be Asian.